So for my army list, I took two HQ choices. I have a chaplain who has a command squad attached to him. That command squad has a standard bearer, it has a champion, as well as an apothecary with a plasma pistol. Um, I also have a flamer in that squad, and the champion has a power sword and combat shield, I believe. My secondary HQ choice is a captain on a bike who has a power fist. I also purchased a bike squad with an assault bike. The bike squad has a plasma gun and a melta gun, and they will count as troops because of my captain. To my elites. For my elites, I have a 5-man assault terminator squad with 4 Thunderhammer and Storm Shields, as well as a set of Lightning Claws on the Sergeant. They are going to be deployed in a Land Raider Redeemer, which is right back there. I also have, courtesy of the Blood Angels list, which Dan allows me to use until it gets into my fluff, is the Storm Raven. The Storm Raven is kitted out with a Hurricane Bolters on the side, and I'd have to dig up my list to see what the other weapons are on it. I think I put the twin-linked assault cannons on it. I have to check. I also have a Storm Talon, which also has the Hurricane Bolters, as well as this one's more configured for being a tank killer or an anti-flyer. For my troop selection, I have a 10-man tactical squad with missile launcher, flamer, and a sergeant with a power axe. They'll be coming onto the board in a rhino. I have a 10-man sniper squad, or a 10-man scout squad with 6 sniper rifles, a heavy bolter, and a standard sergeant. And I have 2 land speeders, which are kitted out with heavy bolters and multi-meltas. And that is my list.
For my 2,000 point list, I have a 7-man squad of Dire Avengers. I have an Autarch standing in for my Exarch, so he's actually armed with a power spear like the model has. I just left the model at home. I have a 5-man Ranger unit, and then I have a 10-man Wraithguard unit. Those make up my troops. For HQ, I've got the Avatar, and then I've got Morgan Ra. He happens to be leading a unit of Dark Reapers. For elites, I have a 6-man Striking Scorpion squad, a 7-lady Banshee squad, and a 7-strong Harlequin unit. And then for heavy support, I have the Phoenix Bomber and the Warp Hunter. This is our deployment for the Scouring. We have turned over all the objectives, and most of the big point objectives are on Charles's side of the table. And I'm going to attempt to steal initiative, which I do not.
For this turn, I advanced my bike squadron forward, as well as advanced my rhino forward with half of my tactical squad in it. My scouts stayed in place, my land speeders moved forward, my land raider advanced. We rolled on the special terrain chart for this objective, and it turns out it is sabotaged. So I pivoted my half of my tactical squad over on the other side of the bridge, so just in case it explodes, it won't hurt me. And those scouts stayed in place. In the round of shooting, my rhino did nothing. My bikes here managed to kill 1 striking scorpion on that piece of terrain. Pretty much this entire side of the board, which included the land speeders firing heavy bolters, the scouts firing a mix of sniper rifles, and bolters on that piece of terrain, as well as that one, as well as my missile launcher for my tactical squad, and the Land Raider all fired at his Harlequins, killing three Harlequins, which I don't like Harlequins, so I'm happy with that result. There was no assault, and that is the end of my turn.
For my turn 1, I managed to move up a lot of my army, and through combined fire, I managed to do quite a bit of damage to the bike squad. I wish I'd done more, except Charles managed to get the benefit of me rolling a bunch of ones on the Tarund roll with the Warp Hunter shot. So he managed to make a bunch of saves after that. Feel No Pain is awesome, even at 5 up, just because you can take it so much more often. And that's pretty much it for the bottom of the turn. Want to roll to see if Night Fight dissipates or continues. It dissipates.
Movement this turn. I moved my. I regrouped my bikes, which were heavily devastated from last turn. I moved my Rhino back a little. I managed to roll on the reserves that my Storm Talon came out, but the Storm Raven did not, so that advanced on the board. I pivoted my land speeders. I moved over my Land Raider, and my scouts, tactical squad, and other scouts all stayed in the same position. I continued to fire at the enemy. My assault bike with its multi-melta drew first blood by shooting down Dan's, what's it called?
Warp Hunter.
The Warp Hunter. I managed to roll a 6 on the penetration chart, so it blew up with much fanfare, but did not wound my guys, although they were hit by it. Then I managed to shoot pretty much everything in my army that I could at Dan's Avatar with a very, very poor round of shooting in terms of dice, but I did manage to give 3 wounds onto the Avatar, so he has 1 left, and he is staring down my scouts in a very menacing way. Hopefully he does not roll well on assault. Oh yeah, and we had an explosion there with the sabotaged objective, and it didn't hurt.
Here at the beginning of my turn 2, I was fairly successful. The Phoenix came in and blew the Storm Talon out of the sky. The Avatar surprisingly made it into combat with the scouts, even though Charles did quite well for his Overwatch fire. I managed to kill 3 scouts, and the other 2 guys got locked in combat. They tried to break, but I chased them down. And then I just moved a couple of units up, and with some fire from the Dark Reapers, I took out that small 5-man tactical unit that had been right near that objective. And we'll see how Charles's turn goes.
This was a disappointing round. First of all, my Storm Raven neglected to come onto the board, so that's the suck. I deployed my tactical squad here. I moved my land speeders up. I moved my Land Raider up as well, and I had my Terminators hop out. So for shooting, I fired a series of mass shots at Dan's Phoenix. I managed to force him to jink by scoring 2 penetrating hits, one of which he jinked out of. The other one managed to take one of his 5 weapons off of his Phoenix. In terms of this round, the Avatar was still in hand-to-hand with my scouts, which he managed to wipe off the board, and now he is approaching my Land Raider menacingly. My Terminators, in their infinite wisdom, hopped out of the Land Raider and came up to his Wraith Guard. I needed 3 inches in order to get into assault. I managed to roll a 3, but then Dan, with his Overwatch fire, killed the 1 Terminator within 3 inches, so my Terminators are sitting there with their thumbs proverbially up their asses. On this side of the board, I assaulted with my Commander and my attack bike onto the Harlequins, wiping out his Harlequin squad. Now the rest of Dan's forces are looking directly at my command/troop choice, and they will most likely destroy it this turn. game has gone pear-shaped quickly.
Bit of a mixed bag this turn. I killed off most of that unit except Charles's captain, who still lives on a bike. I did manage to kill 2 Terminators who passed their test. I managed to immobilize the Land Raider, and I prevented it from shooting. And that's pretty much all I did. I swarm guys in there, and the game continues.
So my land speeders moved up. I deployed my. Actually, no, I deployed that yesterday. I moved my Rhino up to block some hand-to-hand. I assaulted. No, we continued the assault with my commander, or my captain. The Avatar continued to pound on the Land Raider to no avail. And the Storm Raven moved onto the board and shot down the Phoenix. Dan managed to kill my captain. My Terminators got into hand-to-hand combat, not before taking a couple of wounds on the way. And he killed a Terminator hand-to-hand with his Wraithguard. I killed a Wraithguard in hand-to-hand, so we had drawn combat there. And that's the end of my turn.
As we peruse the field, I've moved my Rangers up to that objective. My Dire Avengers have moved up to the objective behind there. My Striking Scorpions and Morgan Ra took out the Land Speeders. Avatar is ignoring the immobilized Land Raider. And he went and popped off a shot at the Storm Raven and missed it. And not a lot going on, but not a lot left on the board. I did 6 wounds to the Terminator, but he passed all his 2-and-ups, and he did 1 wound back to the Wraithguard.
Top of turn 5. I really don't have much left. My Land Raider is immobilized, and being that it is a Redeemer, it doesn't really have anything to shoot at with its flamers. My Rhino and Land Raider did shoot its Storm Bolters at the Avatar, wounding once, but the Avatar did save. So I think the Avatar may live to see another day. My Storm Raven continued down the board, firing at Dan's Dark Reaper squad, killing 4 of his Dark Reapers, but the Exarch lives, and he is my troop killer. This game is pretty much over because I have no more troop options, and there's little to no possibility that I can eliminate his, so Dan will most likely see victory this game.
Bottom of my turn 5, I fired everything at the Storm Raven, which jinked and managed to only take 1 bit of damage with its velocity locked. So right now we get to roll to see if the game ends, which it does.
Game over.
Good game.
Nerd.
Time for the post-game wrap-up. Charles?
So victory went to Dan on this one, as is normal. So I definitely tried something new with this army list. I put in place a lot of very expensive units. I tried the Storm Raven out with an expensive command squad. I tried the Land Raider Redeemer out with an expensive Terminator squad. My style of play has usually been very troops heavy. This was very troops light, which Dan was fully able to take advantage of. His Dark Reaper Exarch managed to lob shots over and over and over again into my troops, wiping them out 1 combat squad at a time. It was completely devastating. By turn 4, I had no more troops left, so it made scoring impossible. I was really disappointed with the Land Raider Redeemer, mainly because it got immobilized, and then an immobilized Land Raider Redeemer is completely useless. A standard Land Raider would at least be able to shoot at things. My Terminators were highly survivable, much more than I originally anticipated because of their storm shields, but ultimately they were not able to do very much by hitting Dan's line. The addition of Overwatch really kind of changed the game a little. I think very different outcome than we would have had in 5th edition. So
there were 2 moments there where really it was the short roll for the assault, because you rolled 3 and you needed exactly 3 inches. And with Overwatch, I did, I think, something like 4 hits and then 3 wounds, and just the one that got through was just enough to make him short the charge. And that really, really put a hurting on your Terminators, because by the time you actually got into combat, you only had 2 guys, and one of them died before he even got to swing his hammer. So from that point on, it was just a matter of numbers for moves of the Wraith Guard. The other thing that I felt really affected you this game was the reserves.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And that, honestly, even in 5th edition, you never would have gotten those reserves on at that point. In fact, you still would have been rolling in that last turn instead of getting it in automatically.
Yeah.
I think you rolled, what, a 1 and a 2?
Yeah.
For the Storm Raven.
Storm Raven didn't come out onto the board until turn 4.
And between the 2 flyers, that was the one I think you really wanted, because it had the unit that could have done the most damage, just sort of pent up and waiting to go out and kill things.
Yeah. Managed to kill the Phoenix. Avatar remained elusive. And Mog and Ra lived to fight another day. But.
You had, I think it was turn 2, was probably one of the worst shooting rounds I've seen from you in a while. When he mentions the Avatar lived, he fired both scout units and managed to miss. He didn't fail to wound, he just missed with every single sniper shot. And I don't even think the Hellfire, I think it hit twice and it didn't wound. It was something weird like that.
Yeah, because I actually hit twice with it, but then I rolled
The ones
for the ones with wounds.
Yeah.
So.
About the biggest botch I made was Charles challenged me with his captain when I assaulted him. And I was so swept up in the moment, I wasn't thinking about just the number of attacks I had going in, so I said, sure, I'll do that. And of course the captain beat my Exarch to death. And what I should have done was taken one of my Exarchs out and just let everyone else beat the captain to death before he got to do anything. And that was just me being swept up in the moment of, challenges are so cool.
I gotta say, it was kind of therapeutic for me. Watch my captain go, come get some. And bury your Exarch into the ground.
You killed the Warp Hunter in 1 shot?
Oh, yeah. I'm starting to gain more respect for melta weaponry, even though I really didn't use it to full effect this turn. But I'm starting to learn that it's only the Wave Serpent that melta doesn't affect.
Yeah, and you still get the +2 for damage as long as you get over the double. But one of the things that really hampered Charles is the unit I had closest to the Redeemer was the Avatar. And it really didn't have any weaponry that could do anything to that particular model. Had I gone with a different build, I think there's a good chance it really would have just crippled me.
My Liberator was a really expensive store bolter this game.
And another thing was I went for a much more assault-oriented list, which is something I haven't done in 6th edition yet. I wanted to see really how badly assault was affected and kind of push the issue. And like I said, I made the mistake with the challenge, and the Avatar went in, he did his thing, it was great for him. I think for Monstrous Creatures it's pretty awesome, but for units like the Terminators, where you have 5 guys, if you take a wound or 2, and you lose those guys on the charge, that seriously affects what that unit can do in hand-to-hand. And that had a really big swing in the game. So I think it's certainly a mixed bag. It seems good for some units like Monstrous Creatures that can absorb the damage and sort of shrug it off, and it seems really bad for specialist units. So I think what I'm going to try and do more often is either make sure I'm targeting in the toughest unit I have first and then lighter stuff behind it, or just the largest number of bodies first and then smaller units. You just can't charge alone, and that's no matter what army you play now.
Yeah.
So overall, unit of the match?
On my end, definitely the Storm Raven. When it finally hit the board, it hit the board hard, took down the Phoenix, and then managed to take down all but his Dark Reaper Exarch and his Dark Reaper squad.
And I have to go with the Dark Reaper Exarch. He was brutal this game. He wiped out, I think, 4 combat squads all on his own. Most of them he couldn't even see. And that also speaks to the difference of the pre-measuring in this edition of the game. The pre-measuring has made an enormous difference for that unit, because in prior editions, I would have assumed most of those units would have been out of 36 inches. Or I probably would have placed the template at the wrong part of the unit and been beyond 36 inches. Now I can measure out first and then place the template and go from there. He was absolutely brutal this game.
One thing I have to say is that with this type of deployment, 36 inches might as well be the entire board. It felt like for both of us, it was so tight in the middle that we had no problems with range.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone was constantly in range, and we had night fight for just the first turn, which probably helped me out a little bit.
A little bit, but yeah. It wasn't.
Mostly, it wasn't that big a deal. Overall, none of the random stuff really came into effect at all, except the charge.
I got to use Field No Pain a couple of times.
Yeah, but I mean, it didn't have like a major effect on the game.
Nah.
It was just a nice little flavor, and that Feel No Pain really helped you out. That was the Warlord rule. That whenever he was within control range of an objective, he had Feel No Pain, and his spice moved right up to an objective right at the beginning, got themselves Feel No Pain, and it saved them from a couple of wounds, made them.
That was my plan.
Yeah, worked perfectly. Overall, I had a great time. I'm still loving 6th edition, and I think had Charles known I wasn't going to take a Farseer, he definitely would have taken a Librarian.
I just need to still read the rules in Psychic Powers.
Okay. I figured you just assumed.
I haven't given GW my blood money yet. I will.
And that's pretty much a wrap for me. You got anything else to add?
Nope. Good game.
Good game.